You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 19. Who's smarter, your doctor or your gardener? Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, it's great to be here with you today. I hope you are healthy and well, and that you now have your plan in place for what to do just in case you start getting sick. I hope there's some confidence in feeling prepared to deal with whatever might come your way. If you haven't yet, you can go to the link I'll put in the show notes. You can also find it directly at healthcourage.ck.page. No www, just healthcourage.ck.page. To download and personalize your plan for what you will do if you start to come down with a cold this winter. Today, we're going to start with story time. Come gather around the carpet and put on your imagination cap. Let's imagine that you have a beautiful evergreen tree in your yard that you love. It has a lot of life ahead of it, and it's important to you and to the ecosystem of your yard. A good tree can provide soothing and protective shade in the hot summer months and be a welcome barrier to the frigid winter winds. It's not only beautiful, but strong and steadfast, something that can be relied upon. Its branches can nurture new life if birds build a nest and hatch their babies in there. Its steady and deep roots prevent the loss of nutrients for all the life around it by preventing soil erosion. A tree absorbs greenhouse gases like nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. According to the U.S. Forest Service, just one tree can clean about 330 pounds of carbon dioxide from the air each year, which provides enough oxygen for a family of 4. It can sequester 1 ton of carbon dioxide by the time it's 40 years old. Trees can also help dampen noises, making for a more peaceful environment. Because of all these reasons and more, like it could be a fun place to play or climb or hide, trees increase the property value where they are planted. Now, imagine that your beautiful and important tree's needles slowly started to turn brown. You knew this wasn't a good sign and you worried about the health of the tree. You weren't sure what was wrong, so you called a gardener or an arborist. You were thankful to have an expert tell you what to do. The gardener came out, looked at the tree with you, and agreed that brown needles is not a good sign, but he knew just what would fix the problem. He took some precise measurements using a spectrophotometer and wrote you an exact prescription. He handed it to you and said, go to Home Depot and have them give you Gideon brand 10GY29-158 spray paint. Spray it on the brown needles regularly and they'll be the perfect shade of green again. Problem solved. This is a short metaphor I've heard a few times in the functional medicine realm, and I embellished upon it. I just found out what a spectrophotometer is by Googling how do you match paint color to an existing item. But you can see how crazy this would be if a gardener told us that about our tree. We'd think it was the biggest tree quack of all time. But I'm sure you can see the parallel I'm trying to draw here between us and the tree. We're beautiful, valuable, life-giving beings who are strong and reliable protectors of all around us. But too often, when something isn't right, we're given a prescription based on precise testing that's the equivalent of spray painting our leaves or needles green. To be fair to the doctors, that's what they've been trained to do. Medical school is highly influenced by the drug companies. and there are standards of care written that they are expected to uphold. The doctors have the best of intentions. Modern medicine is fabulous in so many ways. It's amazing to me what can be done by these awesome professionals. When my radius and ulna were broken into 5 pieces, one of which was sticking out through my skin, the as-is medical system was fantastic. I am thankful every day for the traditional training Dr. Kasmers received to become one of the best hand surgeons in the world. He had his team knock me out with drugs while he put 2 plates and 14 screws in my arm, and I went from unbearable pain to quick recovery. The system shines there, and I couldn't be more grateful. It's the very slowly building chronic conditions where things start to go off the rails. The few brown needles that turn to a few more and a few more. The traditional medical system that uses drugs, devices, or surgery for every problem is like spray painting the tree in most of these cases. Because, like the tree, the way to heal is to get to the root of the problem. Like the tree, most of what ails us comes from lack of appropriate nutrients or the introduction of toxins, or more likely, a combination of the two. There might be brief instances of foreign invaders, poor environmental conditions, or physical injury, but the overall health and resilience of the tree comes from its access to proper and clean nutrition. I had forgotten about this till now, but I once listened to this fascinating documentary about how trees communicate with one another, and they can't become towering giants without kinship. They have a communication system and ways to take care of and warn each other through what they call mycorrhizal networks. The fine hair-like root tips of trees join together with microscopic fungal filaments to form the basic links of the network. Basically, the trees feed the fungi sugar, and the fungi deliver the messages from tree to tree and bring back nitrogen and phosphorus for the trees. There's a German scientist who wrote a book called The Hidden Life of Trees, and he calls it the Wood Wide Web, which is pretty clever. Trees can communicate by chemicals, hormones, electrical signals similar to nerve signals, and even pheromones in the air. It's so cool. A little off topic, but we need each other in order to be healthy too. We also need good quality soil that's alive with symbiotic organisms that work for our benefit. It's hugely important. I once heard someone say that they think of humans like plants, but because we're mobile, we have to carry our soil around with us. That soil is the 2 to 5 pounds of bacteria and other organisms in our gut. If we nurture those little guys, they nurture us. Literally. There's been amazing research about many different kinds of gut bacteria, especially the new cool kid, Akkermansia. Akkermansia is awesome. Like our tree, we need to start from the root and provide ourselves with the nutrients that will make us strong. One of the doctors I follow likes to say that there is one person on your healthcare team that has way more influence on your health than your doctor. Can you guess who it is? It's the person who prepares your food. If you're like me, that's me, at least most of the time. We could talk a lot about how we're the most important person on the team because we know more and care more about ourselves than anyone else ever will. But the person who prepares your food is the one who has the most influence on your health. Do you believe this? I do. They're the ones choosing which building blocks your body will receive in order to run all of its functions. Do you want to abdicate the most influential role in your health and longevity to Nabisco or Chick-fil-A or even Paul Newman? I know it can feel daunting to think that every single little thing you put in your mouth has to be optimally perfect. It doesn't. Living healthfully is actually pretty simple. It's trying to do it in this messed up society that makes it feel hard. So much of what's available to eat these days didn't even exist 100 years ago, even 50 years ago. When we can start giving ourselves the building blocks our bodies know how to use, we will start to flourish. This approach will take longer and require more upfront effort, but the long-term gains are huge. I was just having a discussion with some friends today about how most people don't want to hear this approach. They just want a pill. They want everything fixed immediately with no effort on their part. I had a fantastic professor in pharmacy school named Dr. Roll, who used to say that what separates man from animals is our insatiable desire to take a pill. There's some truth to that. But we're not normal here. We know that spray painting the tree is faster and it might look good, but it doesn't fix the root of the problem. I believe we can make great gains in our current and future health when we apply this tree metaphor over and over and over. Yes, I know this drug might alleviate my headache today, but why am I getting so many headaches recently? Yes, I know this drug will lower my blood pressure, but why is my blood pressure elevated to begin with? Yes, I know that this cream is the standard treatment for my rash, but why is my skin constantly inflamed? Why can't I sleep at night? Why are my triglycerides high? Why do I crave sugar all the time? Why? It's a great question and likely not an easy one to answer, but there is an answer. You might need to do the standard treatment for a while, especially if you have a dangerous condition like high blood pressure. Treat it while you work on figuring it all out. There is absolutely no shame in this, but don't give up. Simply spray painting the leaves now leads to needing to spray paint even more in the future. Taking the time to cultivate good soil now leads to years and years of thriving and being there to shelter and protect and add value to those around you in the future. What can you do to start nurturing yourself at a root level? Is there something little that you can start? Something little that you can stop? How can you treat yourself with understanding and compassion and still hold yourself to a high standard? Do you remember the elements of behavior design? You can do this. The upfront work will pay off 1,000 times over when it's all second nature and your default autopilot that requires no conscious effort leads you to a life free of spray paint and other prescriptions. That's like you. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you so much. Next week, we're going to talk about how to be unhappy for the rest of your life. Bet you can't wait. Until then, don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.